Ben, thank you very much for coming on.
I appreciate it, bro. I appreciate you asking me on. How are we, dude?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
I am good. I'm good. Hopefully you can hear me. There's a little bit of background noise, but hopefully everyone can hear me well.
No, I can hear. I think the sound's quite good. So, Ben, look, I know we've been friends for quite a few years now. I've seen you move from sort of personal trainer coaching young men to try and help put muscles on, and in your own words, the fit tight t-shirts. Then now you're putting out a lot of content about self-image, as I would describe it. So tell me about your self-image and how it's progressed over the years, how you've changed your self-image. Stole you straight into it
Yeah,
there.
that's a big question. So it is loaded. I suppose here, I started off getting into the gym out of an insecurity and being bullied and whatnot. And I first found an element of confidence through gaining those muscles, going from skinny to strong. That was my coaching brand and whatnot. But then after a while, I soon realized, and it was actually a sort of penny drop moment where I got really big, I got shredded and got on stage. And I realized, like, what am I doing this for? Am I doing this for, like, am I doing this for approval of judges? And it took me a while after that to realize that, like, no matter how big, no matter what size you are, what body fat percentage you are, like, it doesn't really matter. It's more about how you see yourself, which led me to the point of then, like, looking at really, who am I? What do I do? What do I want? And getting really sort of locked in on my purpose and who I want to become. So, like, yeah, like, there's definitely been a big transition over the last few years, and I suppose that's the reason why. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so you talk about, yeah, I know the beginning of your journey, it was all about fitness and health, as I think it is for a lot of people. The first step usually in personal development is to get in shape, because the discipline that comes from nutrition, food, training, when you start, it does take 6 to 8 months to see consistent results. But I think it's probably the perfect stepping stone to anybody who wants to change any area of their life. Once you get the body and the mind right, everything else normally follows, because it's consistency. Um,
Yeah, no, 100%. I totally agree with that.
so how did you start out your journey from, I know you said skinny to strong was a brand. How did that start for you?
So, pretty much I had always played football and things, but I'd always never been happy with how I looked. And I then got into training because of that. And really over time I started to become a little bit obsessed with it. Not a little bit, you can't be a little bit obsessed. Started to become obsessed with it. And then I just fell in love with the art of improving your body, with the art of seeing what your body could do. And now more like I'm happy with where I look at, and I obviously do always want to perform a lot better, but I actually look at really sort of your body being the vehicle for doing bigger things with your life. So your body being the vehicle for you to have a bigger impact on your family, your friends, the market, your clients. And I really sort of look at it from that perspective. Yes, I want to always look well and want to be happy and be proud of my physique and whatnot, but it's like the body is your how your body looks is the least attractive thing about you. And it's more now actively fueling myself so that I can do bigger things. And that's what a lot of that's the sort of transition that I'm also helping a lot of my guys with, and I help a lot of people with, is helping them use their body and harness their body in a way that they can have greater things and have a better life.
And do your clients come to you? Do they come initially with a body like they're unhappy with how they look, but obviously as you go in, it's a much deeper reason as to why they don't feel like they don't feel good about themselves?
100%. So most people usually come at the body and we give them what they need. We get them in amazing shape. And one thing that we say is we get you lean for life. So we help you not only just get in shape, but actually maintain it, sustain it, and actually understand how you put that into your lifestyle. But then after that, it's like, what do I do next? And we help them with other aspects like their productivity. We help them with their goal set, and we help them with their vision of really what they want to do with their life and execute it. So yeah, that would definitely be the case. Start off, it's the body, and then after that, it's really where they want to take their life and what type of life they want to lead.
Yeah, and obviously you work mainly with men. I mean, and I know we touched on this the last time we spoke, but I mean, there's a lot. Obviously, the statistics show about men and mental health and the struggles that they have, suicide rates and all that. I don't want to go into it too much because I don't want to misquote something that might not be true. But I know the suicide rate is somewhere along the line 2 or 3 times more than it is for women, especially in Northern Ireland. Why do you think that is? And why do you think men struggle so much with mental health and just their own mental state?
Yeah, well, like I honestly think that I know I'm obviously coming in from a sense of fitness, but I think a lot of men aren't being able to actually build their emotional fitness because we aren't given that space where it's okay to firstly just be aware of your emotions and then actually express your emotions. And I think as well, just with from what I'm seeing from working with thousands of guys, is there's just how do I put this in the right words? There's just no space. There's no space being held for men that really want to just feel heard, feel acknowledged, understand themselves more, and their own emotions. And as a result, that gets built up. And when you repress those type of emotions, big things happen. There's anger that occurs. There's out of character actions, and I'm not saying that solely drives someone to suicide. There's so many other factors, but it definitely drives a lot of men to low mood, to a lot of psychological issues. So yeah, that would be definitely something that I feel like there's a massive need for, and something I actively do try to encourage guys to understand. Like one thing that we're doing at the minute is like journaling,
Mm-hmm.
and it's been massive. So yeah, definitely that's what I would say. What about you? Like, what do you see? Like, I know you've got like a full male team. You've obviously boxed for years. You've obviously like you come in as well in contact with loads of like male business owners.
I mean, I would say there is the lad culture, and I mean we have it in our team as well. You know, and actually someone said this the other day. You know, when you have a problem, and you know there could be things going on outside of work, and I obviously I try and keep in touch with all my guys about things that are going outside of work, because sometimes when somebody's initially acting up, when you dig a little deeper, you realize that there is something actually wrong there. But you know, the lad culture sort of states that if you express a problem in front of the boys, because if you have an insecurity, your teammates are going to pick up on it and you will get tortured for it. It's kind of it's just the way we were brought up, and it's like, man up, don't worry about it, you know, everything's going to be fine, you know. And just saying those things doesn't actually address the problem. You know, you kind of go, and then like we say, it builds up and builds up and builds up. But it's definitely that lad culture, and then people, they don't want to talk because they're afraid of being made fun of, and then it builds up and builds up and builds up into something that they cannot control, or and then it comes out in the form of anxiety, it comes out in the form of depression, it comes out in the form of maybe snapping at spouse or partner, comes out, it could be any kind of form, it could be excessive drinking or whatever. There's a lot of different ways it can come out, but it's definitely the lad culture. You know, people just don't want to express their feelings. And that's why it's always good to have people around you that you can talk to, because everybody has problems and stresses and life worries, and they need to have a safe environment to talk about it first of all. But they also need to be able to know that, you know, don't worry about lads and team culture, and really know who you're talking to. You know, if you don't feel comfortable expressing yourself in front of somebody, then don't do it. But I think you do have to be able to develop a little bit of a thick skin as well, because life does throw things at you, and you do have to learn how to deal with it. But it's being able to deal with it in a healthy fashion, being able to talk about it to the right people, and finding healthy ways to deal with your problems, for sure.
Yeah, no, 100%. And like I mentioned the word fitness because I do think it's something that you build strength in regards to understanding your emotions, sitting with your emotions, and like coming in from my standpoint of fitness and whatnot. A lot of people get out of shape actually not necessarily from a perspective of motivation. It's actually a perspective of a situation of not being able to understand their emotions, which causes them to stress eat, which causes them to fall into destructive habits of alcohol, drugs, um, and it's really at the root is actually an emotional problem.
Yeah.
And it's not until you can go on every single diet in the world, but it's not until you actually as well understand that and understand your own worth and understand your actually to respect yourself is where you actually solve these sort of problems once and for all. So like it's not only just from I know we mentioned the word suicide, but it's not only just from that. Like even I see in a fitness context, like that is usually a problem. There's usually an underlying problem. We don't have an information problem. We have an awareness problem of ourselves, and that's something that I work on deeply, and that's what really helps people solve the issue for good.
Yeah, and but you know what? There's a lot of culture, especially on social media and stuff. You know, masculine, feminine energy, and you know all that sort of stuff, where men just don't feel like they can express who they are. They can't express their goals. They can't express their desires because they're seen as maybe, you know, being anti-feminist or something. So there's a lot of people just kind of hold back. They don't go for the things they want to do and sort of settle for a comfortable life. And then it gets to such a stage where they're not happy with that, and then they want to sort of progress. So there is a lot of pressure on men to behave a certain way because there's a lot of men getting slammed for expressing who they are and expressing their opinions.
Yeah, I think as well. Like I honestly do think men get a tougher time, but I think in general as a society we all do, and I don't think that
Yeah.
I think that um, it's very hard to find someone that's very self-aware of themselves in regards to what they want and able to communicate their needs and able to communicate their true self. And that is down to a lot of things. Like I said, not having space as well. I think it's down to the media and having these sort of expectations. And I also think it's down to just how we're brought up. We're brought up from a context of oh, don't cry. Oh, work hard. Like we're brought up almost in a society as well where we're pushed to drive through emotions and things. So yeah, I honestly do think that at some stage in your life, you do need to do a little bit of a deep dive to
Yeah.
understand a little bit more, and you do need to have that sort of aspect um, where you can express yourself. And from a working, because I know that a lot of business owners and stuff will be listening to this, and as you mentioned, I think as a working culture, we need to address the people first, and the profit will follow. If you
Yeah.
get a person in tune with their emotions and you can understand it, performance will be higher, and as well it'll your business the team force will be less volatile as well. So even from a working culture, I think that will be something massive to consider.
Yeah. And do you know what? I actually want to go back to what you said about the just a minute ago about
You go off on
emotional.
loads of tangents.
I know, I know. But you know, it was something that just really resonated with me. It was when you said about emotional stress eating and things like that. And just recently, very recently, I know we tried to do this podcast numerous times, and I was too busy, and life got in the way. And just I was looking at my numbers for the business in May, and we had probably one of our worst weeks of the year, right? And I was looking, and by the way, this story is going somewhere to do with stress eating. Probably one of our worst weeks of the year. Still a good week by all accounts, but then we had our last week in June, which was by far our best in terms of revenue. Now, in June, I sort of made a decision that I was going to work around the clock because we were so busy with so much work to accommodate. But we actually got ourselves overbooked, and I was working from literally dusk till dawn. I was extremely stressed. I was eating really badly. I was working weekends. I wasn't doing the things that I love, wasn't training properly. And when I actually looked at the profit from both weeks, they were exactly the same, even though we had double the revenue. So I sat down a couple of weeks, you know, a week and a half ago, and I remember just speaking to you off camera saying, you know, not about not working weekends because of energy management. And even though I worked all those hours and we put all that pressure on the team and ourselves, we were no better off for it. So sometimes when you paddle harder is when you get tired quicker and you don't get there any faster. So definitely something for business owners to consider. You know, if you're working so hard and you're putting all the hours in, you're not looking after your health, and you don't feel like you're making the money you deserve, then have we look at what your numbers are actually showing you, and it might paint a real picture for you in terms of, you know, what you want to do with your own energy or what you want to do with your own life. But a real big realization. And knowing all the things that I know through personal development and all the things that I've done, I still got myself trapped into that a few weeks ago. So just something I really wanted to touch on there because it really hit the nail on the head about stress eating. And I am a stress eater. I'm not a stress drinker. I don't want to drink after a stressful week. I want to drink for a celebration or a bit of fun, but I'm definitely a stress eater for sure.
Yeah. I think there's a few things I just want to touch on. I think we're great. I love that awareness in regards to just how you're managing your own performance, your own time, the business performance, everything going on. And I think like I talk about this from a training sense and from a body sense. Like no one wants to crash diet. No one wants to, like, it has to be sustainable. And it's exactly the same for your business. Like your business has to be sustainable. And if your team and you are fucked from an energy, sorry if I'm not I swear. I just
No
said as it
swear.
is.
No, you can swear
But
away in this
yeah,
podcast. This is
if
there's no holds barred. Say fuck all
yeah,
day.
if you and your team energy is all over the place, it's not going to be sustainable. And while you might hit a high month, it just won't be sustainable 12 months in a row. So it's like looking at energy and health as the main vehicle for growth. And that's not just from a training sense, but that's even from a business growth sense. So I think that was a really, really great point to bring up. And then in regards to the second aspect about like coping with like stress, this is something that like I actively work on with the guys, is that it's about recognizing that. And the first step is obviously awareness that, you know, right, this is happening because of this, but then it's finding another way to deal with that in a way, because what's really happening with most individuals is that because there's a strain on the body and strain on energy, food is comfortable, and it's getting it almost, we get control from the food and we get
Mhm.
pleasure from that food. So it's finding a way that we can get that control and get that pleasure um through a different form,
Yeah.
which is going to be the main thing. But and even just being aware of it and actually planning ahead is probably one of the biggest things, because it's usually something that we do reactively rather than proactively.
Yeah, and 100%. It's just one of those things that I noticed for sure over the last load of weeks. A lot of men have a similar problem. Is it stress eating? Is it stress drinking? And what is it that causes them to get out of shape physically and mentally?
Yeah, so I think honestly one of the biggest things is that like no I don't think anyone lacks desire. I think we all want to look better. We all want to feel better. We all want to perform better. But what I do think that we lack is an ability to manage our energy, which then, as a result of that, causes us to lift for the beers, lift for an extra bottle of wine on the week, lift for even just like it's even grabbing your phone constantly on social media, even negative thinking. And it's like, what we got to look at is guarding that energy to the best of our ability.
Mhm.
Really understanding that and planning for that. And then what we'll notice is that we have more desire, we have more energy to train, we have more, um, we make better decisions, we have more almost willpower when a situation does happen. But definitely I would say energy management is one of the biggest things that I see, and especially with ambitious individuals that are
Yeah,
wanting to grow their career, grow their business. um yeah, it's definitely down to energy management.
for sure. And this week especially, I didn't start work until 10 o'clock, more or less every day. But I was up early. I was getting my training in, getting my food right, and I actually got more work done in the last 3 days, like as in move the needle forward work in the last 3 days than I got done in the previous month. It was crazy, and it was just a result of taking a weekend off, literally chilling. I didn't pick up my phone. I didn't post on social media. I didn't do anything, and and it was great. It was probably one of the best things that I'd done because I was feeling very, I don't want to say low, but I was just definitely feeling stressed, and it was definitely a bit of I was feeling anxious as well, and it was just good to get that rest, and now I'm feeling ready and recharged. We're back to normal, and I've sort of readjusted my schedule. But it is all about if I or if any business owner feels like they're moving the needle forward and they're even just doing little daily things to do it, then they're going to feel more energized because they're going to start to see progression. It's kind of when you get trapped in the same spot and you're spinning around in the hamster wheel and you're doing the same thing day in, day out. and you're not moving anywhere, that's when I feel you can start to get down, and you can start to get anxious, you can start to get stressed.
The question I want to invite the listener to think about is, when am I at my best? Like, when am I at my best? Okay, that's the first thing. And like, this is something to look like to. I'm big into like having hacks in your mind that just get you to get better outcomes. And when you have that question, when am I at my best, in your mind every single day, it can really navigate you through your challenges, your events, your overworking situations, like all those things. As a someone that's got a lot going on, when am I at my best? When you're usually at your best, it's going to be when you've got loads of energy, when you've got great food in you, when you're inspired and you've got great people around you, and you're, as you said, gaining momentum and gaining wins. When you know that there's a bigger vision, when you know as well that when you're sleeping well, like when you are doing things outside of work, when you're socializing, like that's the thing that you got to think about is, when am I at my best? When I'm organized, when I've no phone, when I'm not cluttered in my thinking. Like that's a really great question. And even for you, for your team, always think about, when are we at our best? When am I at my best? When you have that thought process,
Yeah,
your performance will skyrocket.
yeah. And even last night we were sitting, me and Neve, but to stick on an episode of Modern Family, and I was sat there and I was just sitting. She was like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I'm just having to look through and having me think about social media stuff." And we literally sat there for 3 minutes, bounced 3 or 4 ideas off each other, and just went, right, boom, there's my next week's all sorted for Chris Cross. Some really good stuff, and you feel more creative as well when you've taken that pressure off yourself. The thing was, I was able, like, I noticed these things happening, and I know they're only temporary. It's only for 2 weeks or a month, but for people that kind of go on for months and months and months and even years in the same sort of mindset, I can't imagine how they feel by the time maybe they've found someone like you. But as a coach, what do you do that is even against your own advice? Do you ever get cluttered in your thinking, or disorganized, or
What I
disorientated?
do against my own advice, I struggle just like everyone else, and especially as well, like I myself, I have my own coaching business. I also am building a PA business, and I also work in the world's biggest fitness mastermind. So like I have a heavy output, and it's growing every single month. So like I do struggle from time to time. I would probably say one of the things that I struggle with is sleep, and I've been actively working on that. And then the other aspect as well is, like we talked about before, is like I'm quite young. I'm 25 years old, and I feel like for the last sort of 6, 7 years, I have grown massively professionally. But now, like I want to grow a lot more personally. And a challenge sometimes is knowing where the fine line is between going out, socializing, having a great time, but also as well, still being on point, being on state, still being able to drive myself and drive the business and drive others forward. So that'll be just drawing that fine line sometimes. I'm currently going through that, where I'm understanding the trade-offs and understanding what having working hard and playing hard. Um, Other things I'd probably say, trying to take on too much, trying to do something too much. And then one thing that's been a game changer for me, just
Guilty,
managing
guilty
all
as
this, is
well.
that like, yeah, one thing that's been a game changer for me is thinking, like actively just thinking and giving myself space, like every day to think. And that's just been a game changer. Like I think if there's one thing that you could take away from this, and it'll probably be the most powerful thing, free up 30 minutes a day to think. And the ideas, the thoughts, the challenges, the awareness that you will gain from that will be massive.
Joe, I love sitting with my own thoughts. My staff said to me, I went on a trip recently to England, just delivering a few boxes over. It was kind of a last minute thing. It was over a weekend, and I just went, "Do you know what, I'll go." And I switched the radio off. I put my headphones in, listened to a podcast for an hour, and then switched that off, and just sort of sat there. And I was like really, really happy alone with my own thoughts, because you do really gain. Driving's a great way to do it if anybody's listening, and you want some time to yourself. But yeah, just thinking, you get creative ideas, you get a lot of introspection on what's going on, and it's a great way to do it. But people struggle with taking 30 minutes, because they always think they should be doing more, doing more, doing more, and by doing less you can actually do yourself a favor by doing more. And do you find that struggle with your clients? Just it's like I take 30 minutes for
100,
myself, and they're going,
100%.
I can't afford to take 30 minutes.
100%. And even like I'm training myself to do that more, to slow down. And the question that like really hit home to me is, when do you come up with your best ideas? You don't come up with your best ideas when you're go, 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 go. You've got a million deadlines, you're under pressure, you've got this, that, and the other. You get your best ideas when you're usually, as you said, driving, usually on the toilet, usually having a coffee, usually in the shower. When it's when you're in a chilled state. And like, I'll not go into all the brainwaves and stuff, but pretty much one of the main aspects is we're in better brainwaves when we're go, 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 go.
Yeah,
And we
when you
can't
be in an alpha
actively,
state, is it?
yeah, we can't actively get into that deeper state and have that greater sense of awareness. And it's just integrating that, like integrating yourself and resting and your own mind. And then when you're able to do that, you're able to come up, as you said, with new ideas, with new thoughts. You're able to as well, like one thing that, again, if you are sort of thinking about it, it's just like, what am I missing right now, or what could go wrong, or what are we doing really well, or like what could we do to make this situation different. Like, you'll just notice so many more blind spots.
Yeah. And what was it about the is it the alpha and the beta brainwaves? Do you know much about that? I know it's is it
Yeah,
when you
yeah,
wake
so
up
this
in
is
the
some.
morning you're in an alpha state? Is that right? Like when that's when people tend to be most creative.
Yeah, so there's three states of brainwaves. Okay, the first one's beta, the second one is theta, and the third one is delta. We aren't really in delta too often. I might have got those two mixed up, but anyways, I'm not a neuroscience. But
Yeah.
anyways, those two states are the states that we want to be getting in, theta and delta. The delta, I think, is the one that pretty much we're in is when we're in babies, and we are in when we're in a deep sleep, and it's very hard to actually get into when you are awake. But the main area that we want to be getting into is theta more often. And what this will do is pretty much it's us going from a sympathetic state where we are go, 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 doing this, doing X, Y, and Z, and actually slowing down and being able to really tap into that. And when we do that, we're able to also tap into our subconscious. We're able to think much more clearer. And yeah, you're able to come up with a lot more ideas. And as well, from a health perspective, like when you're in this go, 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 go state, this will affect your physiology, this will affect your body, this will affect the tension, this will affect how you feel, this will affect your body in regards to how it looks, even, or if that's chronic. So definitely we don't need to be more productive, we need to rest more, we need to manage our energy more, and we need to just chill more. And like I said, there's no lack of desire. So yeah.
Yeah, I know I touched slightly on this earlier on, and I've met loads of guys who I've actually said this to. You know, you need to chill out. You need to take more time off. Speaking with a colleague, I wouldn't say a colleague, but somebody who's in a similar business to mine, and he said to me, he's like, "Do you not take calls over weekends?" And I was like, "My phone gets left in the office on a Friday, and it doesn't get looked at again until Monday, the work phone, obviously." And he was like, "How do you do that? Like, what do you do if you miss business?" And I was like, sometimes your energy and your happiness is more important than money, and I've found that out recently. I mean, I'd be happy if I was you. You're able to live the life you want and earn the money you want, but if you want to earn more with that lifestyle you're not happy with, uh, the two don't even compare. So he's tried it recently and he's really enjoying the weekends off, and I still think he struggles, but it is tough when you're sort of self-employed, or you're at the especially in the beginning of business, when you don't have as many leads coming through, or you don't have as much business in, and you kind of want to take everything you can get. But those people especially struggle to switch off. They struggle to get away from their phones. They struggle to just rest at the weekends. They're happy to get up and work at any hour of the day, and you're only able to do that for so long just to get yourself started. But eventually, you do need to get into some sort of energy management routine, and it's so important.
100%. And like, again, it goes back to you valuing your energy, and it's the main sort of driver for all the growth. And then the second point, as you mentioned, you can't do it forever. Like, it has to be sustainable. Like, there's only so long that you can do it. And the third thing I just sort of like came to my mind when you were saying that is that when you know that it's like you're actively setting better boundaries, you're actively growing, is that it should feel strange. like it should feel strange the first time that you sit down and think. It should feel strange the first time that you go away and like take a weekend off. What you're actually doing is you're training your central nervous system that like success is okay, and you don't need to be working to every single hour of the day to gain success. And like you have to go from that perspective, as well as going from a worker to an owner to someone that actually sits at the top and makes the big decisions.
Yeah.
And that comes from an energy point of view, that comes from an identity point of view. And like I said, that will be strange to go from that in the ground, in the weeds, moving things forward. And so you do need to have that in you, but then to really make bigger moves, you do need to sort of take that that
Yeah,
sort of bird's
because
eye view and
the
that rest.
big the bigger you get, the more your decisions have an impact on not just yourself, but other people. You know, eventually you get these stage where you may have a family and stuff, yeah, but if you're just yourself, your decisions only impact you. But when you're a business owner, your decisions are going to impact your staff, they're going to impact your customers, they're going to impact a lot of people. So being in a good state of mind is very, very important when you're, especially when you're making big decisions, especially, well, I wouldn't say especially financial decisions, but any decision really. Um, and I just
Like the
wanted to go.
question you
Yeah, sorry, go
the,
ahead.
so the question you have to ask yourself is, do I want to go for every single day running on half energy? Like
Hmm.
that's just a harsh reality. And like this is a thing that like I'm very good at, is just asking people very upfront questions that get them thinking. And like you're I know obviously we want like, as if you're a business owner, you want financial growth, but like you should be growing in your freedom. You should be growing in your overall state. And every other month or so, like there should be changes in how you spend your day. Your
Yeah,
day should be changing. Like, and like you said, what's the point in doing all this if you feel like shit? Like
yeah,
it's important that you actually enjoy it. And to enjoy it when you're at your
yeah.
best is to have that energy.
Well, you know, from a financial standpoint, I'm not too sure how this is for coaching business, but certainly for removals trades, if you're earning about a 20% net profit after you've get paid, that's a very, very good um, achievement. And but the thing is, 10 grand a week at 10% profit is the same as 5 grand a week at 20% profit. So how many extra hours do you need to put in to get that 10 grand, or how much of your energy you're burning to get that 10 grand? Whereas if you just tightened up what your 5 grand revenue was and then you got the same profit, it's the same amount. So that's the way I would challenge a lot of it. Maybe not particularly, but for people in my industry, for sure, people in the likes of trades, that would be a pretty standard good net profit. But you know, when people are running and they're chasing revenues and trying to work all these hours, and it's something I found out the hard way, and I found it out before, but I found it out again recently. You know.
Yeah, and we all did, like no one's perfect. We all dip into poor habits and thoughts, and again, what it gives us is just more awareness and more lessons. And like it's this is something I say to like anyone I work with, is that I want you to face as many problems and as many challenges as possible, because then that's where you grow. You don't learn anything from being perfect, and you're not upskilled, and it teaches you things. It teaches what you value. So no, totally, and I totally agree in regards to like you got to understand the trade-offs.
Yeah. What would you say to somebody? I had a train of thought there just regarding people who, because I've worked with people myself who are maybe in a similar industry as myself, and they want to take that next step, and they want to grow, but they're afraid of the financial risk, they're afraid of the emotional risk, they're afraid of whatever the risk is and the trade off is. They're afraid to take that step because they're fearful. What would you say to someone like that?
Be afraid of inaction. Be afraid of being in the same position in 6 months. If you really want to go to that next level and that next sort of, you want to expand you and your business. Um, it's just the more each and every single day, what you're going to be, every choice that you make, down to how you talk to your team, what marketing you put out there, how you treat yourself, your own energy, as I've said, like it's either moving you forward or it's moving you backwards or keeping you stuck. So it's like, it's just leaning into those choices each and every single day and looking at it from a perspective of, right, okay, I want to get myself in amazing shape. I want to double the business. What would someone that has double this size business, how would they think? How would they operate? What would they do? And then actively making an intention to show up like that person every day moving forward.
Yeah.
And like there's always going to be doubt. There's always going to be um limiting beliefs and things. But like the best thing that you can do is um crush that through action, and as well crush that through environment by having the environment around you and just getting very clear on what it is that you want. At the end of the day, if you don't set the tone, like if you don't set the agenda, like you just simply won't get it. So that would
Yeah,
be what I would say.
yeah.
In most of the aspects.
What a great answer for sure.
I don't know. I just sometimes I just feel like I'm just going off, but yeah.
No, it was brilliant. I was actually speaking with my dad recently, and I sort of said, I was like, look, we've just chatting, having a coffee, and I was like, look, we've kind of outgrown where we are now. We need a bigger premises. We need this. We need that. And he's like, because that sounds like a bit of a financial risk. And I was like, what's the worst that could happen? Like, crisscross isn't gonna, it's not gonna fall away just because I take on a bigger premises. Something happens, maybe business dips. What I move out again, move somewhere smaller. You know, you got to think about that. I always think about the worst case scenario. What's the worst case? What, I sell a van, I have to take a step back for a couple of months. It's like there's no real downfall. Yes, it's a risk, but sometimes you need to have the environment that you can grow in before you grow. You need to have the infrastructure. You need to have, like, I'm thinking about 3 steps ahead. Where do I want to be in 3 steps? You know, in terms of staffing and what I want to be doing, my role within the business. But before I get there, I need to take X amount of steps first. So the first step is bigger premises because I'm preparing to grow, preparing to scale. Um, and I can't do that with the building and what we have now because we need bigger premises. Um,
And like, there's 2 things. I love that aspect of right. What's the worst case scenario, and then can I live with that? And just being okay with that. That's the first thing. And then the second thing that with making a decision like that is really right. That's going to force you to grow. That's going to force you to think bigger. That's going to force you to be sharper. That's going to force you and your team to create more demand. And like that's like, I know there's risk in things, and you do obviously have to weigh up those risks. But like when we look at anything, and this isn't just business, this is just like general goal setting, is that like it's that journey of growth that we're here for. Like that's the thing. It's who you evolve. How do you who do you become during that? How does things flourish? And like that's just an amazing journey. And I think like when you don't have that, you become unfulfilled.
and
Um
yeah, for sure. And just touching on that, the when you're in that bad emotional state, when you're not moving the needle, when you're not doing the things you enjoy, you're in a state where you want to give up. You're in a state where you want that. You actually think about, why do I even do this? Why do I get up every day? And those thoughts go through everybody's head at some stage. But that you have to realize that when you're in that emotional state of stress and anxiety and overwhelm and whatever else is going on, then though you're in a negative state, so your thought patterns are going to be negative. And that's why it's important to be able to do the things you love outside of your business or outside of your work or outside of your career. Because if you're able to I hate using the word balance, but if you're able to create the life you want with the career or job that you want, then you're going to have more energy and you're going to have more creative ideas. You're going to have more um, energy to fulfill and to grow and to take risks, because the worst case scenario is you take maybe a little bit of a step back and whatever else, but it is going to force you to grow, and you're in a much better emotional state to take those risks, because they're a lot more calculated. Whereas if you make a decision when you're on a negative emotion, negative emotion, it's much more likely that it's going to be a bad decision.
100%. Like someone that's integrated and they've got their social life, they've got their family life, they've got other aspects, it's just going to be so much more stable to make those decisions. I think that's a massive point
Mm-hmm.
and massively underlooked. And again, it's just seeing that and then valuing it and putting it into place to do that.
Yeah. And yeah, absolutely. And let's talk about fitness specifically, because I know you went from skinny to strong. You went to you've done a lot of bodybuilding stuff. I remember me and used to train. I couldn't even swear it was maybe a year and a half ago. And we went to do some weights. I really struggled, and then we done some conditioning after, and you really struggled. And then you started getting more into conditioning, health, lifestyle, and actually using your body for what it is. So tell us a bit about why you've done that and what you're doing at the minute in terms of your own health and fitness.
Yeah, so like I used to just train to look good, and now I train just to sort of explore my body in regards to like I want to be able to like I've actually got this on my sort of vision statement is like be able to wake up and run a half marathon before breakfast and it cause no bother, and being able to like bench press my body weight and being able to squat double body weight and things like that. Like so from my own personal stance is that yeah, like I want to create a bulletproof body, and I'm on pursuit of that, one that looks good, one that can perform well, one that ultimately is that vehicle for the bigger growth of my life. So like with that, that's not about like going in and rinsing myself in workouts. It's about it actually complementing everything. Like I want to be able to move, I want to be able to do things. So I'm exploring that. I'm exploring different avenues with that. I'm also as well like exploring that with some of my clients. Like we are looking at different aspects that we wouldn't have never looked at before. We ran the Mile the Brow length of Ireland and basically covered it twice and raised over £12,000. So yeah, like it's I'm looking at all different energy systems. I'm getting very as well, like in my own sort of time, in my own sort of free time, I'm really delving into human like optimization. So what can I eat? What can I do? What routines can I do so that I can be my best, feel my best, and be most and perform well? So it's not just also training in the gym. I'm just actively looking at like performance as a whole.
Just talking about routines, what routines do you have? Doesn't have to be, well, morning routine or any sort of routines and rituals you have that actually make you perform better, make you better in life and
Yeah,
business.
there's honestly so much, and it's not like there's not. I don't want to like bombard people with like um
You have to do
a
this.
massive list, but like I think about my state, and I'm very aware of my state, and I assess it. So like what I mean by state is just how you think and how you feel, and what I look at is in regards like from a routine perspective. Like I won't look at my phone for the first hour of the day. At the minute, I'm currently in Dubai. I'm traveling and I swim every morning. I write down, I journal every day. I look at what would have wins, what would have reflections, what needs to be done. I then as well, like I have daily checklists of a debrief and things like every day I debrief and I look at what went well, what didn't go well. And like I don't clock off. I always try to close up loops. I try to eat little carbs in the first half of the day. I try to get 7 8 hours sleep. I plan my week for the following week before Sunday. I take a day off every single month. I take a weekend, like a full long weekend off every quarter. There's so many things. There's other things like even down to like how I use my phone. There's even things down to like when I'm communicating with clients and when I'm communicating like with things that matter. I have like a touch point script of how I want to communicate. Just so many things. So like, yeah, the main thing I would say behind those, because those are my routines and those are things that I've developed over the years. But like what I would say is start to look at your state
Mm-hmm.
and manage that every day and then tweak things because people will meditate, people will breathe, people will do other things and then just look at how can you optimize that every
Mm-hmm.
single day and you'll
Yeah.
find little
What
tweaks.
what is sustainable for you? What is,
Yeah.
what is sustainable? Because I used to have a really long morning routine and realized it wasn't sustainable, but it was full of meditation, journaling, and all those things are important and have their place for sure. But when you're trying to squeeze them all in, it's very, it's very difficult to sustain that if you're taken out of your home environment, for example. So,
It should
but
excite
so
you.
it should. So my morning routine, I've kept it really simple again. I tried getting up and I tried doing a couple of hours of work before, but my day just always gets, it can get thrown very off whack very early. So it's important. One of my most important things to me is just having like 15-20 minutes to myself and then training. If I can get those two things done and then my day turns to shit, that's fine. But I realized that I wasn't training first thing in the morning, so I've started to try and incorporate that as my number one priority at between 6 and 7 a.m. Um, but yeah, and that's more sustainable. It seemed to be that I was getting a little bit of work done, and if something happened that required my attention, then I wasn't getting my training done because that thing that can require my attention can take an hour or it can take 11 hours. I don't know. So it's another thing for me is walking the dog at least once a day. If I can get to walk the dog for an hour just to clear my head in the afternoon, that normally optimizes my performance better. So yeah, very interesting.
Yeah.
But
One thing I'd say as well, like for everyone, is just like one of the best things that you can do is build slack time. So slack time is like just what that'll do is like time buffer time where you, if a client or if something happens or you need to do like life admin or you're not feeling the best, like have some slack time in your day will just give you so much more breathing space, and you'll scoop up any of those things that'll possibly knock you off.
mhm,
So that would be definitely something I would say could be
slack time.
an absolute game changer.
Yeah. Um, I wanted to touch on planning your week there because I'm actually going to do that today. I'm going to try this today. Instead of planning my week on Sunday, plan it on Saturday. Get it done, get it dusted, and then just sort of enjoy the rest of my weekend, which I'm going to do straight after this call. Have you found that to be more beneficial? Because I know you do it, and I know I remember seeing Phil does it as well. Started trying to do the plan on a Saturday. So I'm going to give it a go and see how it goes over the next month or two.
One of the biggest things I give people is planning. Like one of the biggest things that I am very good at is just planning and creating systems. And I think it's because I value it so much, because I spent so much of my life being so chaotic that I really like, I just enjoy like actively just understanding what's going on, what do we need to do, when does this need to happen by. So from a weekly perspective, simply on a Saturday, can you hear me? Okay, there's been noise.
Yep,
Um,
we're all good. Yeah.
Simply on a Saturday, I'll reflect on the week and I'll reflect on how everything went. So like everything from right, what were the wins both in life and business? What were the standards? Were they met? In regards to like my training, my routines, my own eating, etc. Then I'll look at right, what did I learn and what were the challenges? And as well, like was there anything that was not done and what am I going to do about that? And then pretty much going into the new week is that I'll look at what needs done. I'll prioritize it in numbers, and then I'll plug it into active times that I'm going
Yeah.
to give
Yeah.
to it and give boundaries. And then I'll look as well, like, well, this is probably the biggest thing is that like on a daily basis, I have an accountability pod, and every day I'll look at what I need to do in life, what I need to do in business. So life being like training, fun time, chill out time, switch off time, all that. And I never have 3 days or more as heavy. So heavy being the demand that it takes from me. So like a coaching call can be quite heavy or speaking can be quite heavy. So it's like actively looking at the energy demand and trying to like have like 2 heavy days, a light day, 2 heavy days, a light day, etc. So that'll be something that's been probably one of the biggest things this last year is just not looking at your week as a time perspective, looking at your week as an energy perspective and
Mhm.
giving yourself every third day a moderate or a light day.
Awesome. What a great way to finish off. So finally, Ben, where can people find out more about you? And what about what you do? Why don't you tell us?
Yeah, so my main sort of platform is what's there, Instagram,
Instagram.
Ben Heron / level up. But I am making a bigger effort on LinkedIn and Ben Heron just on LinkedIn, and I am making a bigger effort on Facebook, but mainly Instagram. And yeah, like I hope that you enjoyed today. I hope that you got insight today. I know there was a lot covered, and if there's anything that like you want to follow up, you want to ask, you want me to explore with you, like feel free, just shoot me a message.
Thank you, Ben. Appreciate your time.
Awesome. I appreciate coming on, bro.
Awesome. Thank you. Bye bye.